What's going on, everyone? It's Justin here, and today I've got a video showing you my favorite productivity and creative apps for the iPad, and more specifically my M1 iPad Pro. So I've had the iPad all the way since the first generation iPad mini, and over the years, my stance on it has definitely changed quite a bit. Initially, it was something I would just sit in the drawer and I'd occasionally watch like YouTube and Netflix on it, but as the Pro started coming out and getting a lot better, the new design, and as I started traveling more as well in 2019, I really did start using the iPad, and in a lot of cases relied on the iPad fully. And I feel like now more than ever before, Apple has really shown that the iPad can be a computer replacement and has the ecosystem to support it, as well as the power inside through the M1 chip in the latest generation iPad Pro. So yeah, the one that I have right now is the iPad M1 13-inch from this year, and it also has cellular as well. But I would say my favorite size is actually the 11-inch because I do use the MacBook Air quite often, and it just doesn't really make sense to have two things that are the exact same screen size and portability. And typically I also have it with the Apple keyboard and also the Apple Pencil. But I think for the most part, I'm pretty casual in the way that I use it, but a lot of creative tools have actually brought me over to the iPad over the computer in a lot of cases. I also have a spare pair of AirPods right now, so I figured I'd give it away to you guys. So just make sure you subscribe to the channel, drop a like on this video, and also leave a comment down below. And follow me over on Instagram at justin.tsc and leave your Instagram username below so I can contact you, and I'll be picking a winner if you guys can get this video to 4,000 likes. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the apps and the widget setup that I have on my iPad Pro. So looking at the home screen, you might see I have some widgets on the top here. And when I first got the iPad Pro and updated it to the latest software, I actually didn't really use any widgets for the first year. It wasn't until I sat down recently and decided to revamp my entire system. And I don't really have a specific system as to where all the apps go. It is really just based on convenience and frequency of use, which is what I've got here. And as you can see, I have the clock on the top, which is something that is always good to reference. The battery life is also very important, and all the times are also things that I seem to have to know just because I work with people who are around the world, whether it's the graphic designer in Italy or some of the companies in Poland. And just for scheduling conference calls, it is important to be able to quickly see what time it is before making a call. I also have my calendar here. I do use Apple calendars. I don't really love it, but I do feel like it gets a job done and it syncs with all the Google ones. So I just have my general schedule that shows what's going on in the day right there. And below that, I have my Notion template, which has my main Notion, which is Formula One, the task list for everyone in the company, and also the feature, which is my media company and all the things that we have to publish over the week. I also actually have a few different things that you can scroll between. And on the left side, just some general information on the weather. And over on my iPhone, I have it set up a little bit differently in terms of how we use the space. But because the iPad screen is so big, I figured that each square can be its own thing instead of having to stack them on top of each other. So the first app that I use a lot is obviously Notion, and I've been a user for quite a few years now. And the reason why I like Notion so much is that it's just very open and fully customizable. And we have all these different pages, whether it is the task list for everyone to know what they're doing. And beyond that, in the Formula One tab, we have all of our company information of media kits, the videos that are coming up and what we're working on and where they are, as well as the sponsors of the episodes. And as you scroll a little bit further, there's also a list of all the sponsors. So it's just an easy way to track everything that is going on, especially with a very full queue. And I've talked about this many times, so I'm not going to go into full detail about it, but I think for any creative or small business owner out there that has a relatively small team, everybody's able to stay on task very easily through something like Notion. The next thing that we also use a lot is Dropbox. It is my go-to file service, and I just like to be able to upload things from all devices. I find that it syncs with a Mac very well, so there's nothing really much to say about that, but it is my preferred method of file transfer. And I also use Apple Notes quite often, and I think what Apple has really improved on the most in the past couple years is the group aspect. Because before, it just really wasn't good as a collaborative platform. So because we have different members of different teams who do different things, I have a folder for each employee, and we're able to just type our notes in there, whether it is a caption for an Instagram post or just an assignment list for a video. I know it is a bit counterintuitive to have Notion and also a notes that is completely separate, but because Notion is not very good from a mobile experience, I still like to use Apple Notes across all devices. The next thing is Frame.io, and for any creative out there who is in video specifically, this app is just so good for a collaborative setup. So I can just upload the videos that I'm working on to an editor, and they can like go ahead and finish it off and add the whole project file in there, but they can also upload a version of the video for me to watch, whether it's in like a draft form or a proxy. And from there, I can actually open it up completely and take a look at what is going on and leave a note at any point. So for example, right here, I'm just watching through the video and maybe I have like an edit. On the iPad specifically, you can actually draw on the screen and reference certain areas. So that just makes things a lot easier to understand, and you can also change the status and everything. And you can also view some of the notes that other editors or people on your team have added as well based on watching the video. So yeah, as you can see here, Savannah's added a whole bunch of notes on the video, and the editor can just go ahead and like take a look at it and know exactly where we're referencing. I do still edit almost all my videos, but Frame.io has definitely changed the way that we do things, especially for larger projects that have a ton of moving parts. And as you can see here, we have like files all over the place and they're all assigned in certain folders. When it comes to editing all my photos, my favorite place to do it is actually in Lightroom for the iPad. And even though we have like computers that are able to do all the photo editing and like a batch edit, I'm usually editing 1 or 2 photos at a time. And by being able to use the Apple Pencil to like use a healing brush and wipe out the dust and also drawing certain masks, I find that doing things on the iPad is significantly faster than using a mouse on a computer. So I've actually just like added everything on my computer, and thanks to Adobe Creative Cloud, it is able to sync to the iPad right away, and I have all my photos here, and from there I have all my presets as well, and it is overall just very seamless. So that is why I choose to actually do everything on the iPad specifically. One of my favorite new apps that I've been using every single day in pretty much like the last year since we started using it, and I can really recommend hands down to any business owner or creative out there, is Canva, and they're actually the sponsor of this video. So what Canva is a great platform that makes it very easy to create social media elements, whether it is Instagram posts, Facebook ads, posters, resumes, PDF decks, and also pitch decks. It literally has everything that you need in one place, and you can in fact actually make simple videos as well within Canva, and you can do it on the computer, the web app, or also on the iPad app and smartphone. It is literally everywhere, and I just have everything synced up with my team, and from there I'm able to easily copy things in, change the font and change the style and color, the templates, and you can also import your own as well. With the Canva Pro subscription, you have access to over 75 million elements, whether it is photo, video, audio, and graphics. We actually specifically use it for pitch decks, for example. So say I'm like talking about a certain project and trying to work with a company and provide more information in a nice and visual form. This really does take everything to the next level, and it's something that not every creator does. So you can see in this project, I'm talking about the next renovation, and we've shown all the images of like the certain theme or mood board that we're going for, as well as what the project looks like at the moment and the vision that we have for it. Another one, for example, is my car video, and we're trying to work with like Mercedes to check out maybe their GT AMG. So we put together a visual pitch deck, and if you want to like change the theme to match like how the company's color scheme is, you can also do that all very easily. So if you guys want to design like a pro with Canva Pro, just go ahead and check the link canva.me/JustinSay for a 45-day free pro trial. Beyond Lightroom though, I do also use VSCO, which is where I edit some of the photos, and I think I'm just looking for something really quick. It's easier to just put it into VSCO and not really have to think much about it. Say it's like an Instagram story. And I do also like the fact that VSCO lets you edit videos as well, because if you just want to like spice up the Instagram stories just a little bit, then it is all super easy. I remember when like the video editing function came out, it was super slow to export on my phone, but now that the iPad is so much more powerful and has like the M1 chip, I think this is the preferred device that I would want to export video on. Obviously, Netflix is like a staple that makes a lot of sense. Whenever I am traveling, which I haven't done in quite a while, it's just easy to have like a TV show or a movie playing for a flight, and so Netflix is on here. I haven't really watched anything in a while because we've just been way too busy, but I also have YouTube, of course, and the Creator Studio, which is allowing me to like view all my kind of video information and the general revenue, how the videos are performing, and also like change some things in them as well, like typing the description, changing the thumbnail, responding to you guys' comments, and all the analytics. Even though I will say the new logo is extremely ugly, I do think that generally speaking, YouTube does give like a really good set of data for any creative out there to learn more about their videos and figure out where they can improve them. Another one of like my favorite new apps is Millinode. So I feel like it's one of those platforms that it's a lot like Notion, where as soon as I started like figuring out and understanding how to use it, I fell in love with it right away and was able to create things that I felt like were beyond my capability of like graphic design and also creating mood boards and organizing things. So essentially Millinode is like a great place to be able to like visualize things. So interior design mood boards, as well as visual decks and like creative plans. So for example, we have one in terms of video production of how we plan to do like the visuals of the course. And in the other area, we also have the general mood board for the renovation project. So I've talked about this renovation project a lot, and we just compiled all the images that we've kind of put together and decided to go with from the tech side of things and design side of things. And it is all laid out in a very visually appealing deck that I think just looks really good and also does a good job of organizing while making it easy to customize and add new things at any time. So if you want to like add something, you can actually just copy and paste it. And if you're on your computer, you can also use like the Millinode clipper to just copy anything from any page on the internet. Right here, you can even use like stock images. And this is all with the free plan, by the way. I can also add like a certain arrow to link things together, but they also have a ton of templates that are already built in that make it easy for me to just like change their template instead of having to start one completely from scratch if I don't really know what I want to do. So yeah, as you can see, this is what my deck looks like for the renovation project. And I also have one for each room as well, just so we can like separate it into different areas and be able to review our concepts and make any changes as they go. Splashtop is another app that I've used for many years, and it allows me to connect to my computer at home at any time and anywhere. So I can do it on my phone as well, but just go into Splashtop, click on my computer, and I can then control every single thing. I can send like a file to myself if I forgot to and just access it on Dropbox. So it is more of like an emergency basis kind of thing, but it's still nice to have. And because I am like a huge Formula One nerd, I actually have the Formula One calendar synced with my actual calendar. When it comes to a password manager, I use Keeper Security because it is just really easy to download that app as soon as you get a new device, log in, and it will autofill your password for you everywhere, because there's nothing worse than having to like remember the password of 10, 15, or 20 different accounts for all of your apps every time you get a new tablet. And as a tech reviewer who is always checking out new things and switching devices, I mean, we switched iPads like 3 times this year already, having Keeper Security has made things super easy to transition and really start taking advantage of the full capabilities of a new device as soon as possible. So if you guys want to go ahead and check that out, I'm going to drop a link down below as well. As someone who watches Formula One, they actually have a pretty good app that makes it nice to follow the race and see all the details and information, as well as accessing the radio as well. So even though I'm not on it like all the time, and a lot of times the race times are a bit too early, it is still a great app to have. Beyond that, we also have the banking apps right here and the accounting. And unless I'm like doing like general administrative work and sending payments and like just checking up on things, I don't really go into the finance side of the company as often as I probably should. I mean, other than that, on this page, there's nothing really that special. I never use Google Maps on my tablet. The calendar is already in the widgets. The camera is never really used on the iPad either. And as you can probably tell by now, I don't really have many LiDAR apps because it's just something that I'm not really in the field of. Beyond that, I also have Pinterest, where I like sometimes browse around and find some new ideas for renovation projects. But as we move on to the next page, I do use Photoshop Express occasionally, and I also do use Skillshare and Masterclass. So I just feel like a lot of times it's good to learn like different skills of like philosophies. So Masterclass is one where you can like hear from a lot of like good business people and people who have owned like large companies, as well as people who are specific to categories such as like film and art and maybe even cooking if that's your thing. But I feel like Masterclass overall has been really good, but unfortunately I bought it before they had like the promotion, so I pretty much paid like full price. Skillshare on the other hand is a lot cheaper, and even though you can learn a lot of the same things that you might learn over on Masterclass, I specifically like to use Skillshare when trying to learn software, because there are a lot of people who like do like these courses of how to use like graphic design and interior design software, which I'm not familiar with. And by having that kind of like breakdown and interactive demonstration, I find it much easier to learn that way. And it's almost like learning things through specific tutorials on YouTube, but instead all in one place. Deliveries is still my app of choice when it comes to tracking packages. It's always been that way for as long as I can remember, and even though it did cost a little bit of money, it's been worth every penny because it just does everything right. It's able to copy things from clipboard and figure out which shipping carrier it is. I'm also able to add it to my calendar, and it lets you know like which day your package is going to arrive. And so being able to monitor everything right here on all of my devices, once again, is kind of like the trend that you're seeing, where a lot of the apps that I use, the most important thing about them is that they sync with everything very nicely. So on the last page here, I have some of the apps that I don't really use as often. Unsplash, for example, is for finding like wallpapers. I also have a few other ones that are good for like drawing and sketching, but I don't actually use that much. I use the Apple Pencil to like do photo editing and retouching more so than actual drawing, but I do feel like I want to get into it a little bit more. And I also have LumaFusion, which is the video editing app that a lot of people really enjoy on tablets because it's a lot like Final Cut Pro. It's really fast and responsive, but it is on the tablet and gives you that mobile experience. Personally though, even if I had like a trackpad and keyboard and all that kind of stuff, I don't really want to use like tablet to video edit. I feel like it's just not made for that. The file system is still not very good, but with Apple's improvements to speed on like the USB port and being able to import files of photo and video much faster, I think it will be appealing for a lot of users out there, but it's just personally not my preferred way of using the tablet. As you can probably tell though, my iPad, generally speaking, is really simple. I feel like I could definitely have a lot more apps, and I'm really just scratching the surface of what capabilities the iPad M1 really has. But for what I use it for, I have been super happy with it. The size is really good on the 13-inch, but as I mentioned, I could do with the 11-inch. And as a travel tool, I plan to take this iPad everywhere because I think it's just so much easier than having to bring a laptop with you, and the battery life is also a lot better. Because I just find it has like a much more simplified experience than on a computer, and it's able to run most of the apps that I want to do on an administrative basis. And I'm also able to do all my emails. And from an entertainment standpoint, a tablet is so much better than using a laptop. For like video editing and like the main day-to-day work, I don't think I'll ever switch to the iPad specifically. It's really just not feasible, and the workflow is going to take a lot longer. But I'm honestly like a huge fan of the iPad, and I don't really know what else Apple could change to make it even better in the future. When Apple releases the mini LED model of the 11-inch and next year's update, I'll probably end up picking that up. But yeah, if you guys have any questions of this iPad and what I think of it, make sure you go ahead and comment down below and what your favorite app is, and let me know what apps that you guys use that I should definitely check out, and maybe ones that I may have introduced to you in this video. Because a lot of times I don't really try anything out until a lot of people have recommended it, and that was sort of the case with Notion and Milanote. If you guys enjoyed this video, as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel, drop a like on this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.